Still today, most of the scientific research is kept alive by governmental institutions. This is due to the high cost of the activities, but also to the not so immediate return on the business. Welcome back on the SpaceInfo podcast. Here we talk about space and everything related to it. If you are passionate about space, astronomy, technology and everything about it, you can join all our social platforms at the SpaceInfo Club or our website at www.spaceinfo.club, where tons of content and a community of experts are there waiting for you. This is the SpaceInfo Club. Welcome back on the SpaceInfo Club podcast. Today we talk about privatization. And we have received a lot of comments, a lot of suggestions through our website and our Instagram account, suggesting us to talk about privatization and a different approach that the public agencies have had during the last years towards privatization. So today I'd like to talk a little more about this topic and maybe clarify some points that have been asked to us. And I like to talk about the different approach that particularly NASA have had in the last years differently from the past. So particularly SpaceX and Blue Origin are only two of the huge number of private companies which approached the space business of the new millennium, and in the last decade has probably seen the highest increment in this sense. But why and particularly how is privatization of space going on? So we often talk about interplanetary missions inside our newsletter and our articles on www.spaceinfo.club, and they have been funded by government agencies. So think about NASA, ESA, and also in the last months the United Arab Emirates Space Agency, just to think about Mars as a destination only as an example. So how does this kind of mission distinguishes with respect to the private ones? So let's spread some light. So at first sight, we can think about the turbulent years of the space race, whose turmoil allowed a fast and straight progress, which conducted the first human to fly in Earth's orbit, so the first human on the moon and the subsequent space missions. If this spirit of national pride, a side of military supremacy, has been the red thread in those years, it is also true that still today most of the scientific research is kept alive by governmental institutions. This is due to the high cost of the activities, but also to the not so immediate return on the business of the obtained result. Indeed, if you think that you are investing some money in I would say Earth-like business, you as an investor pretend to have a return on that business, and the more accurate and predictable that return is, the better it is for an investor. So let's make a brutal example. So if life was found tomorrow on Mars, is there any existent business plan by a company that knows how to make some money on this? I don't think so, actually. It is also true that more and more companies are conducting scientific experiments on board the International Space Station, with costs lowering consistently, and scientific research in microgravity is becoming accessible also to smaller businesses. Larger companies, as the two we mentioned in the beginning, so yes, I'm still talking about SpaceX and Blue Origin, however, they are setting ambitious goals to bring man back on the moon and also beyond, something that hard to imagine only a couple of decades ago. So think about the space missions that were launched at the beginning of the new millennium. Even though contracts are still funded by public agencies and the company's image for the public is a minor driver for those, the main purpose remains technological development for a competitive advantage and yes, profit. So is this the goal? Is the goal of profit really wrong? Well, I don't think so, because history tells us that almost every time companies flourished in search for profit, this also has spread light and also originated a higher quality of life and a general improvement and so shared benefit for humanity at all. So The idea of using in situ resources to build human outposts on the moon, Mars, or even asteroids will bring along margins for companies, but also huge technological improvement, new perspective, and maybe we'll really become an interplanetary species as a benefit for the whole humanity. So let's now give a look at how privatization has evolved along the last decades. First of all, can you make a rough estimate of the total market value of the space market? Well, it is in the order of millions or billions of dollars. Just try to think now and give yourself an idea. I'm trying to take some time to let you think about it. So here are some data. In 2006, it was evaluated around $180 billion. In 2018, so 12 years later, the global space marketplace has expanded to an estimate exceeding 345 billions, almost doubled. Nowadays, it is estimated to be worth more than $500 billion. As a comparison, Apple has a market capitalization of $2.8 trillion, making it the biggest company in the world, or something like that, depending on the day of the month you are trying to track it. So, however, General Electric only takes $100 billion in market cap. But for sure, we cannot label it as a small domestic business. Think about how big is General Electric, and also just as a side mention, then we'll come back to the main topic. Think about how big General Electric was in the past compared to the other businesses. It was one of the biggest companies in the Dow Industrial Average Index at the beginning of the new millennium. Then the things changed a little, so also the balance of the whole market changed. So this is also a dynamic behavior, and avoiding investing in the space economy maybe can cause some companies to fail, and also an entire market to just being hidden by different businesses. So this is also a huge opportunity in this sense. Now you can place the whole space market also in a dimension, and we leave to your imagination also the thought of which direction it will take. So if we just exploit the whole potential of this market. So from 2000 through 2014, space startups received a total of $1.1 billion in venture capital investment, or roughly $73 million per year. And $73 million is also, if you have listened to our last podcast and also one of our latest video, we mentioned that Draper, the consortium, where you can find Draper and also iSpace US, just received the same amount of dollars, $75 million, to try to attempt a new mission back on the moon. So yeah, we are still around that order of magnitude. In 2015 alone, more than $1.8 billion in venture capital investment were made. In 2017, more than 120 investors contributed $3.9 billion into commercial space companies. So an important milestone in the space market is the International Space Station. We are not going to discuss all the amazing research that can be performed on board, the new technologies, and also the materials which have an everyday impact on our lives. We have already talked about this, and we'll do it again in the future, but for sure I won't talk about this today. Let's let the plain numbers talk by themselves, and the most widely known language among humans, yes, money. So the ISS and changes in contracting mechanisms associated with it have played a significant role. Think about that. In 2006, procurement policies for the International Space Station have moved from the traditional cost-plus approach to the pay-for-performance framework every time it was possible. We already talked about this in some videos, and I'd like to talk a little deeper today about this topic. So the first consequence was a forced search for cost efficiency and also encouragement for competition. While the first approach, so the cost plus one, refers to an arrangement where a contractor is paid for the expenses incurred plus an additional margin payment, fixed cost procurement moves the risk toward the contractor itself. So with fixed cost procurement, the contractor receives a pre-negotiated, so a fixed value regardless of the incurred expenses. So you will clearly understand that Now proper risk estimation and also efficiency become the driver of the game. So for sure we are not reinventing the wheel now. Cost plus or fixed cost approaches are a matter of risk, not a weight modernization. So if you just work around, I would say, normal business on Earth, this kind of bipolar approach is already quite widespread. So NASA has traditionally used cost-plus based contract structures to design and develop new space capabilities, such as the Space Shuttle, the Space Launch System, and also the Orion vehicle. However, when the risk is lowered by an existing knowledge of the environment, the mission and other aspects, shifting to a fixed cost structure is the most valuable way. So for this reason, this nimble approach doesn't mean the extinction of public agencies, but a wider and more valuable collaboration between the private and the public sector, with benefits for everyone. So I am not saying that all the business approaches have to change towards a cost fixed approach. However, I'm thinking, and I'd like to show that the importance of this last approach is crucial for privatization of space. Indeed, private companies, through competition, through new businesses, through higher efficiencies, have to adopt this approach in order to make space a real business, not only a publicly funded, I would say, game. And this is the future. This is the reason why a lot of private companies are flourishing nowadays. And I think that the existing of these two different approach has different applications. So if you are doing scientific research, if you are doing space missions, for example in this space, if you are sending probes to another planet, you cannot really give a real estimation of the costs that you will sustain, particularly if you're making real research and development. But if you are planning to adopt a known technology, a known approach, a known, I would say, business case to an existing reality, well, the fixed cost approach is maybe the best one, and it's also the best one for the flourishing of competition and also the development, the adaptation of existing technology to space. So I hope you liked this discussion. I strongly encourage you to follow the SpaceInfo Club on our website, on our social channels, on Spotify and YouTube. But also, most important thing, I encourage you to let us know what you think, how we can improve. And so thank you for listening, and see you next week with the next episode. Bye.